Alan, welcome. Alan is one of our PhotoShelter co-founders, and he is going to introduce our last keynote speaker of the day. Alan, thanks for being here.
Hey everyone, let me share my screen first.
Sure, go for it. Hi, Landon.
Hi, can you hear me?
We
Yeah.
certainly can. All right,
Awesome.
go for it.
Before we do the intros, we want to encourage you to answer this question by going to the questions panel to the right of your GoToWebinar screen. How does your company use Instagram? You can just type the letter A, posts only, B, posts and stories, C, posts, stories, and IGTV, or D, what's Instagram? And we'll give you a few minutes to answer that, and then Kristen will give us the results of that. I'm Alan Murabayashi. I'm the co-founder and chairman of PhotoShelter. And since I had nothing to do with planning this event, I can just say to my team, like, amazing job. Like many of you in the audience, we're all working from home, and to coordinate logistics for people that are literally spread around the country and in some cases around the world, it's really fantastic. This particular session is really cool because not only is it Instagram, a brand that we're all familiar with, but the speaker happens to be a good friend of mine. We both went to the same high school, many years apart. Our parents happen to be really good friends. And we actually are really good friends in New York. And back when hanging out was a thing, we'd hang out a lot. Landon Morgado, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so stoked to be here. It's serendipitous, Alan.
Totally serendipitous. And when I was approaching Landon about being on this little fireside chat with me, he said it's just like a normal conversation that we would have, over drinks or dinner anyway. So yeah, that's easy. Kristen, do we have any?
We
any
have a lot of answers.
Okay.
We have a lot of answers, and I am already just psyched to watch this conversation because I know it's going to be so fun to watch you two bounce off of each other. But we have a lot of answers for C, post stories and IGTV, a handful for B, and then I'm seeing fewer A's and a little bit of A with a mix of B and D, and then very few answers for D. You still have your slides up because I think we want to make sure that people know which ones those are. But C was definitely the top answer, followed by B, and then there's
cool.
That's good. That sounds about right. That means I feel like we're all on the right page. That sounds good. That makes me feel good.
Awesome.
I was looking at my account the other day, and I was surprised to find that I joined Instagram in 2010. So I've been on the platform for a decade, and it's crazy to think about how much
early adopter, Alan.
Yeah, the product and the features have really evolved, even though we're not really aware of it. It's really remarkable. Landon, so I guess the first question, since we have so many brands and organizations listening in today, have you found when working with the brands that you've dealt with, is there kind of one singular path to success? Are all the companies and organizations using Instagram in the same way?
Yeah. They actually, I feel like the reason why we created Instagram in the first place and the reason why Instagram is so incredible is that everyone is able to find their own voice, including brands. And, brands are taking on their own personalities and their own identities. And it's so fascinating to see. And so I think the answer is no, like truly every brand has been using Instagram so differently. And it's so important that brands work to find their brand voice and identity. And I mean, like, something we have always stressed, especially as of recent, is, people come to Instagram for raw and authentic, real content. And this goes hand in hand with finding your voice and identity, and just building more personality as a brand. And I think a lot of people don't realize that it's not just creators that can have like these huge personalities, but it's definitely important for brands to find that as well. And Instagram's the perfect place to do that. Short answer is no, like every brand, really tackles Instagram differently. And it's really awesome to see. Yeah.
So we had a number of frequently asked questions of Instagram that we wanted to run through very, very quickly. So I guess you threw together things that you've heard throughout the years when you've been there. So why don't we go through these? Question number one, how do I get verified?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the top asked question, I think, of all time. I feel like everyone asks this. The short answer is honestly, it is not it's a specific team, but they don't reveal the criteria of what it takes to get verified, because we find that whenever we reveal that criteria, people will find ways to hack it and fake it. So they have their own criteria, but we do know that being notable in the press helps. And anyone actually is able to get verified within their own app under settings. So you can literally go into your own app, go into settings, and apply for verification and see what happens. But we started verification a while ago. I think Miley Cyrus was the first person to get verified, and she just had so many imposter accounts of her that her fans didn't know which one to follow. And I think one of her like imposters had like 1 million followers. So, it got to a point where we had to verify accounts to show who the real people are. But yeah, now everyone kind of wants to be verified. So we opened it up to everyone, and now it's public access, and anyone can apply, and our team will get back to you within 30 days.
Cool. Question number 2. Well, I guess I have to, oh, you can see that? How does the algorithm work?
Yeah, that is another big question. It's really truly based on engagement, and I'll say engagement probably 50 billion times today, but Instagram truly is all about engagement, and engaging back with your followers, and making sure they're engaging with your content. So if you think about it as like friendships, like the friends you most engage with are the friends you want to see the most, right? So that's why we created the algorithm, because we want to show you the content that's most important to you, and we want to make sure that's at the top of your feed. So hopefully, your cousin's baby shows up at the top, opposed to a new Kim Kardashian post, because that's what you truly do care about at the end of the day. But maybe some people do care about a Kim Kardashian post, right? So it differs for everyone, and no one's feed is the same, and that's the beauty of the algorithm.
So it's fair to say, like Google or like any other search engine, that the algorithm evolves as features come out and as people change their behavior as well.
100%. Yeah, I think I think a lot of people, like, if you have like an ex-boyfriend or an ex-girlfriend, like, and you stop engaging with their content, they shouldn't show up at the top of your feed, and hopefully they don't show up at the top of your feed. For times that doesn't work, we have this feature. You can mute people if you don't want to like hurt anyone's feelings and you don't want to see their content. You can just mute them, and they won't know that you muted them, and they won't show up in your feed or your content. But yeah, we ultimately have not changed the algorithm too much over the past couple of years, even though I think people do think we changed it quite a bit, but we definitely have not.
This question was kind of a hot topic maybe a year or two ago, maybe less important now, but am I being shadow banned?
Yeah. I put this in because I feel like people this is the one rumor that won't go away. But someone started it a while ago, and then it just caught on like wildfire. But basically, shadow banning is when, I guess, people said their posts weren't showing up in feed. And it just simply is not true. Like, we don't shadow ban everyone, anyone. Anything that someone posts in feed should show up in your followers' feed. We sometimes do take down content based on our policies and our community guidelines. So if you do go against those, we will take your content down. But you always should be able to get to the end of your feed and see all of the posts that have been surfaced. And we actually have a feature that shows you at the bottom when you hit your feed. I don't know if you hit it out, but it says you're all caught up when you get to the bottom of your feed. I definitely have not hit it. That's all the way to it.
Here's one, and this is an example. So the question is, does the grid matter? And this is a musician named Anderson .Paak, who for many, many years had just this incredible grid art, and then he transitioned away from it and used the archive. But does the grid matter for engagement?
Yeah, I think this is a great example of using the grid for a good reason. I think I work with a lot of fashion brands, and a lot of the fashion brands will sometimes do, like, we one time had this brand who wanted to do like a blue hue throughout all their photos throughout the grid, and you barely were able to see it, but they were so proud of it, and it took them so much time to put up. And the truth is, you're not getting a ton of impressions from your grid unless you're doing something like this. Like, Justin Bieber will has done like album announcements, and he'll do like a huge grid takeover. And similar to this, it's a great example of how to use it. But I think in every day-to-day work, you shouldn't spend time worrying about like what photo is fitting within the grid. Because the truth of the matter is you get very low percentage of impressions from your grid. It's coming from feed, search, and explore, and stories.
Right, right. How many hashtags should I use?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think the sweet spot is probably like 3 to 5. I think any more than like 10, I think using 20 or 30, that it comes off as a little spammy, especially for brands. So we definitely recommend 3 to 5, and just be very intentional with the hashtags. So I think either creating one for your own brand and your own following, so you can keep up to date with what they're doing, or just look at what your followers are following. You can now follow hashtags, which is a pretty awesome feature. So you can follow interests, and you can see what your followers are following and what they're interested in. And utilizing those hashtags will connect you with people who are also interested in things like your brand.
You know, when you're an old person like me, it's hard to believe that people are actually clicking on hashtags to surface content, but in fact, they are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's for.
Yeah. No, that's definitely what it's for, to connect content. Yeah, for sure.
Why can't I get the swipe up feature in my account?
Yeah, this is, as of recent, this is a really, really frequent question, just because of all the everything that's happening right now and all the information sharing that's happening. We currently only allow accounts with 10,000 plus followers or who are verified to have the swipe up feature. This is something that we originally created because we wanted to give users the ability to share links and websites. But we also, we're very conscious of bots and spam that we're afraid will inevitably take over if we allow everyone to do swipe up. So we're really thoughtfully taking a look at it right now to see how we can give more people this feature, especially now, so they can info share. But right now, it is only available to accounts with 10,000 plus followers and who are verified. But we're definitely taking a look at it.
The final frequently asked question is, will you ever go back to a chronological feed?
Yeah, I know. Do you want a chronological feed, Alan? Is that something
Sometimes.
you want?
Sometimes. I wish I had the option.
Yeah. No, to be honest, I don't see us going back to a chronological feed, just because our data shows that we're surfacing more and more content to the users than when we had a chronological feed. We showed that a lot of people were not seeing all of their content and not the content that they wanted to be seeing. So I think we're with the algorithm for the foreseeable future.
Super informative on those frequently asked questions. A question that comes up frequently is how brands should be measuring their success on the platform. Should they prioritize follower count, engagement, or is this even the wrong question to be asking?
No, that's a good question. I think a lot of people do focus, especially brands, focus on follower count, right? I think it gives off like a first impression for followers to be seeing, or potential followers to be seeing. But the truth is, like, engagement, like I said earlier, is the most important thing probably on the platform. So being able to engage with your audience and use our tools to do that, users are highly engaged on our platform, and they are looking to brands to answer their questions and answer their DMs and respond to their stories and like their comments. And it's just, I think driving that engagement will also drive your content to show up at the top of everyone's feeds. So I think optimizing for engagement over followers is definitely key for us. Yeah.
And using some of the insight tools that are available with the business accounts, clearly marketing departments should be watching those numbers frequently, right?
Yeah. I feel like our insights tools are constantly refreshing. Like, I think we're constantly looking and meeting with different businesses and brands. A big part of our job is to speak with the community and speak with different brands on what they want to see as far as insights go, because we know there's a lot of third-party apps that brands use. So we're constantly listening to change our product and especially insights to further help you and different brands. But I think the easiest way to get, I guess, to learn more about your audience and to get more insight is to truly just ask your audience. And like I said earlier, like using the question sticker, using the polling sticker, asking questions in comments and answering, and just truly having that two-way conversation will give you so much insight into your following. Because there's only so much numbers can tell you. And I think a lot you can learn from just asking your community.
We've been in lockdown in various states for now, almost 100 days in some cases. Instagram tends to be this very inspirational and aspirational place for people to go, the dreamy vacation place, the incredible meal, the winning touchdown. COVID has really reduced those opportunities. How should brands be leveraging their accounts during this time where it's harder to create content?
Yeah. It's such a unique time. Everyone's just on their phones all day, probably on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. But I think people are still looking to escape. So I think people are still enjoying those photographer accounts and those luxury hotel accounts and those travel accounts. Like, people are still looking to escape because they can't do it physically. But I think too, it's really speaking to the narrative that has been writing itself within Instagram. It's, this real, more like unveiling a real, more authentic personality behind an account. So I think even brands should really utilize this time to kind of where you don't have the lights and the cameras and the whole crew, the hair crew and the makeup crew, to really utilize this time to kind of show the other side to your brand, which is a little less polished. I think creators have taken to this especially. Like, I think one of my favorites is, I know everyone talked about her, Oprah is one of my favorite accounts to follow because she is truly like probably one of the most polished humans on earth. But she has been posting just the funniest stuff from quarantine, like cutting Stedman's hair, or I think the most viral video during COVID was her putting on a duvet cover, which is like so relatable. And so just like Oprah doing that is something people want to see, right? Like, they don't want to see the magazine cover, the polished photo. So I think just unveiling yourself as a brand a little more, and using COVID this time that we have at home to do that, because people that's truly at the end of the day what everyone wants to see.
When IGTV was released a few years ago, I was a little skeptical of whether it'd be a successful platform, but during COVID, I've seen many more people use Instagram Live and IGTV, and musicians like John Mayer will literally get on there for an hour and talk and play, and people will watch it. Are you finding that people are watching an entire 1 hour stream, or do people kind of dip in and out? What is the viewer experience that we should expect as content creators?
Yeah, the live usage has been gnarly. Like, I think I was on just waiting for the session, and I think there were like 10 lives going at once. And so many people are going live, especially in the beginning of COVID. John Mayer, John's been doing this for probably over a year and a half now, but he's been going live. He created this series called Current Mood, where he goes live, he brings his celeb friends on, he maybe plays some songs, does duets, and then he posts it on his IGTV right after. He used to save the live and then post it to IGTV, but we actually recently just launched the feature where you can go live and then it goes directly to your IGTV and post the stories, which it used to be the case before. But we are continually seeing so many creators and brands creating serialized content around live. And live is truly like almost like the new TV. Like, people are planning their schedules around live workouts, or John Mayer's show. Miley Cyrus started her own series called Bright Minded, where she kind of does the same thing from like the basement of her house, where she just invites a bunch of her friends or activists and talks about like current events and what's happening in the world. I'm trying to think of any. There's just been so much great like serialized live content. Like, most recently with all the racial justice stuff going on, they had this series called Share the Mic, where a lot of celebrities shared their profiles with Black activists who were able to talk about everything happening. And that was a huge content series across the that spanned across the platform. So there's so much great content on live right now, and it's great that we have this feature that lets you allows it to live past 24 hours or past 24 hours, which we used to be on stories. And now you can post it to IGTV and it can live forever, essentially.
You know, speaking of features, Instagram, like many tech companies, is continually refreshing the features out there. Can you mention some key features that have come out in the past year that people might have missed?
Yeah. I mean, speaking of the current events, I think a lot of the features, we pivoted a lot of our strategy when COVID happened, but I think a lot of our features that we've released recently have had to do with COVID and racial justice that is happening right now. Some of my favorite new features, because there's literally a billion of them, but some of my favorites are live donations, which I spoke to you about a couple weeks ago, and it's the ability to add a fundraiser to a live. So if John Mayer is going live, he can add UNICEF as a fundraiser, and his followers can donate to that. And we've seen this take off like wildfire with everyone because it's just so easy. Anyone can do it. You don't need a certain follower account, but you can, Alan, you and I can go live right now and raise money for our favorite nonprofit. And in line with that, we also have donation stickers, which we've had for a while, but we see that being used more and more. We recently launched guides, which are curated content by trusted resources. So we partnered with like the NAACP, UNICEF, the We Foundation, and they built these guides for mental health. And it takes from different accounts throughout Instagram and kind of teaches the user about the organization and how to like maintain mental health during this time. At Instagram, which is our editorial account, just released their own guide called Act for Racial Justice, where it teaches you how to be an ally during this time. So definitely check out guides. Supporting S&B stickers is another one of my favorite features. That's the ability to add an S&B sticker to your stories. So your favorite restaurant or your favorite bookstore or your favorite clothing store during this time is probably not open. So I think being able to surface content using that sticker is super vital to supporting these small businesses. And then also the last thing I'll say about new features is shopping. I think shopping is super top of mind for us here at Instagram. We recently launched checkout a little over a year ago, or maybe a year and a half ago now. But it's the ability to check out fully within Instagram. So without ever leaving, you just enter your credit card once, and you can literally click close throughout Instagram from your favorite creators and just purchase them with 3 taps, which is pretty incredible. And our most recent shopping product announcement actually happened yesterday. We launched live shopping. So now you can watch a live and actually buy a product within a live. So we did it yesterday with the Content Cowboys. They launched, I think, a book. And so you were able to buy the book straight from their live, and they were like riding their horses throughout Compton. It was pretty cool.
Very cool. So many social media managers want to be able to respond to real-time events going on around them. And I think of this Twitter example when they had the blackout a few years ago, and Oreo had this amazing viral kind of real-time tweet. But organizations and their lawyers also fear making faux pas on social media that can also go viral. What's your best advice to marketing teams and communication teams for sort of reacting to stuff without making these mistakes?
Yeah, I think it's important to now more than ever, join the conversation. Like, I think it's very, especially with the younger generations, they see when you're silent, they see when you're not posting. But I think being able to think through what your stance is on certain things, and it doesn't have to get political, but I think just having a way to join the conversation is super important. And it could even be something as simple as just to show what you're doing to support your workers or your community, just for your own brand or yourself as a creator. But I think it's super important now to join the conversation, and we've definitely been seeing that happen on Instagram. It's definitely been a great place.
Do you think brands should therefore assume a little bit more risk than their lawyers are willing to tolerate? I think there's a fear of making a mistake, and part of what I'm hearing from Denise in the last session was you have to take chances, you have to experiment a little bit and see what works.
Yeah. I think I can't speak to lawyers and I can't speak to the legal side of it, but so I'm not going to get into that. But I think Denise is right. Like taking risks is super, super important, especially with content on Instagram. I think people are usually afraid to, just speaking with content specifically, people are afraid to take chances with, and they're just too afraid that the likes are going to be too low or the engagement's going to be really low. But you'll never know if you don't try. And I think that's the way people find their voice, is by trying, taking chances and taking risks. So I think Denise hit it on the head.
This concept of social listening to your customers through social media has become like a big concept. And Instagram can be really great at helping to facilitate that. What tips do you have for teams that want to learn more about their audiences through Instagram?
Yeah, I think using our tools. I mentioned this a little earlier, but the question sticker is honestly like the most underrated tool ever. You literally can ask your followers anything and they'll give you an honest answer. I think going live has been a great way for that as well, just because you're getting that real-time feedback from your audience. I think like any of the stories tools, like the polling sticker is incredible. It's a quick way to learn about your audience. A lot of makeup brands and a lot of fashion brands will use them in really creative ways to show, like they'll put like different shades of makeup and then place the polling sticker so you can like choose where you are on the spectrum to choose what your favorite color is. And I think Kylie Jenner does this really well. She actually like lets her followers choose what kind of makeup she releases, like what her next color will be. So I think that's a great way to utilize your audience and build community around your products as a brand.
We have actually reached the end of our time. I feel like I had like 20 other questions that the audience
We
wanted
could
to
go on
ask.
forever.
I know, it's such a fertile ground. Kristen.
I'm back. Thank you both so much. What a powerful way to end the day. Landon, thank you. It's great to get a window into sort of everybody's most asked questions about Instagram. I think it's great. We got into the nitty gritty of workflow, and now to get into the nitty gritty of a tool at the end of the day was really practical and helpful, and just really sends us off in a nice way. So thank you. And Alan, thank you for your thoughtful questions and leading that conversation.
Bye, guys. Thank you.